Alright, so today we're going to be talking about writing linear inequalities, and like I said, it's going to be the same thing as writing equations of lines from graph, except now we're going to have the inequality symbol, right? Okay, so the steps are kind of the same. So the first two, the first step is finding the slope and the y-intercept, right? That's what we would do when we had a regular graph. You get the slope and the y-intercept at M and B. Alright, so let me write M and B. So then you're going to have to determine if the line is dotted, dashed, or solid. So like it's either going to be solid or it's going to be dashed or dotted. Okay, so the graph will tell you if it's dotted or solid. Then after you determine that, you have to see if the shading is above or below the line. Then you're going to use this chart right here to tell you which sign you're going to use or which symbol you're going to use. So the way it works is for it to be a solid line, it's going to be the ones with the lines on the bottom. Okay? So for it to be solid, it's going to have a line on the inequality symbol. And if you forgot them, it's the less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So these four are going to go somewhere in here. Okay, so the dashed have no line at the bottom, so it's going to be these two, and the solid line has the line at the bottom of the symbol. Okay, so now below, the ones that are below are going to be the ones that are not trying to eat the y. So if we have y mx plus b, right, the ones that are below would be the ones that are trying to eat the equation, not the y. Okay, so that's when it's going to be below. And when it's above is when it's trying to eat the y, right? The alligator or Pac-Man or crocodile, whatever you call it. Okay, so this, if you would write these here, it would be trying to eat the y, right? So the way you read this chart is if your line is solid and the shading is above, you would come to this sign right here, because this sign will tell you, okay, your line is solid, and this symbol tells you, okay, the shading is above. Does that make sense? All right. So then once you determine which symbol, one of these four you're going to use, you're going to write the inequality in the form y equals mx plus b, and you're going to replace the equal sign with one of these symbols. Okay? So let's do some practice. Okay, so this graph, let me zoom in. Okay, so first I need to find the slope, right? So slope, you got to find 2 points. So let me choose this point and this point. So then rise over run, right? So I have to go either up or down first. Well, I have to go down because this point is lower. So I have to go down 2. So that means that's -2, right? And then over 1. So that's +1. -2 divided by 1 would give me -2. All right. And my B, my y-intercept, it crosses the y-axis at -2. Okay, so now the line, is it solid or dashed? It's a solid, right? That's a solid line. So we're going to write solid. Now, is it shaded above or below? Above, right? So if you're pointing towards the shaded area, you would go up, right? If you're pointing towards it. So that means it's above this line, okay? So that would be above. So now that I know it's solid and above, I can use my chart to decide what symbol I'm going to use. So if I go back to the chart, so it's solid and above, that means it would be this symbol, the greater than or equal to symbol. So that's going to be the symbol that I'm using. So greater than or equal to. And so now I have all the requirements to write my line. So it's going to be y, then I'm going to have my symbol greater than or equal to m, which is -2, x plus b, but b is -2, so I'm just going to write -2. Okay, so it's kind of the same. The only difference is this right here.
Instead of equal is the little.
Instead of equals, it's going to be one of those 4 signs. Okay, and the line and the shading tells you which sign you're going to use. All right, so let's do this next one. Okay, so again, you choose 2 points. I'm going to choose my y-intercept and x-intercept. So my y-intercept is what? 1, right? So now I need to get my slope. So I have to get from this point to this point. I have to go down 1, so that's -1, and then over 3. 1, 2, 3, +3. So my slope is -1 over 3, and my y-intercept is 1. Okay, so the line, is it dotted or solid?
Solid.
Solid. Now, is the shading above or below?
Below.
Below, right? So if you point towards the shaded area, you're going below the line, right? So shading is below. So if I go to my symbol chart, solid and below, that means it's less than or equal to. So the symbol is going to be the less than or equal to symbol. So now you have all the information required, so you can start writing y is less than or equal to m, which is -1 over 3, x plus b, which is 1. And that would be the equation of that line. Okay, try number 3. Go ahead and pause it and try number 3. Okay, so 3, you find 2 points to get the m, right? So I'm going to use my y-intercept and this next point right here. So my y-intercept is -3. And my slope, I have to go up 1 and then over 1. So that's 1 over 1. 1 divided by 1 is just 1. Right? So my line is dashed, right? Or dotted, whichever you prefer. Dashed and dotted are the same. Dashed and dotted are the same. The shading, you point towards it, it's below. Oh, it's -2? Oh, yeah, it's -2. My bad. -2. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see up here. Below. So yes, the B is -2 and the shading is below. So dashed and below, that would be dashed below, so it's less than. And this is also dotted. So the less than symbol. So your equation would be y is less than 1x minus 2. But on your answer choices, you're going to see just x, right? Y is less than x minus 2. Right. Okay. And I'm going to do number 4 with you because it's a little hard to see the points. So the points would be -1, -5 right here. And the next point would be your y-intercept is 1. Okay, so the y-intercept is 1. And my slope, I have to get from this point to this point, so I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I go over 1. So that's 6 divided by 1 is 6. Okay, so my line is dashed, right? Dashed. And my shading is below. Shading is below. So dashed and below, if you look at your chart, would be the less than. So my equation would be y is less than 6x plus 1. Another thing people get confused of is the above and below, like especially when it gets steep like this, right? What I say is imagine this is a ladder right here, and when you're on the ladder, if someone says reach below you, you're going to reach down, right? Just reach up. If someone says reach above, you're going to reach up. Okay, so that's another way to think about above and below. Just imagine that this line is a ladder. All right. So that's pretty straightforward, right? You're just what you really need is this chart. Okay. Any questions? No. All right. Let's go to the back. Okay. So now we're gonna have work problems. And it's going to be the same thing, except now we're just dealing with less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And I'm going to give you the key words to look for. Okay. So less than, when the first one is less than. So is less than. Okay. That's what you want to look for. Another thing they'll say in the problem is smaller than. And then another thing they'll say is below. Okay, so when you see is less than, is smaller than, or below, that's going to be the symbol you use. So an example, so this would read x is less than 4. X is less than 4. Alright, so this is the less than or equal to, so that's one of the phrases you'll hear, is less than or equal to. Less than or equal to. Another thing you'll see in word problems is at most. Is at most. One more would be maximum. So this you would read x is less than or equal to 5. X is less than or equal to 5. Another way you could say it is x is at most 5. X is at most 5. Okay, this symbol is greater than, so that's one of the phrases you might see is greater than. Another phrase would be is more than. And last one would be larger than, is larger than. I guess you could also see is bigger than, right? So is greater than, is more than, is larger than. That would be the greater than symbol. So this down here, the example would be x is greater than 1. Another way you could say it is x is more than 1. Or x is larger than 1. Alright, so this is the greater than or equal to symbol, so that's one of the phrases you might see is greater than or equal to. Another thing would be is at least. And another one would be the minimum. So remember, is at least means that's the least amount you would have. So I have at least 120 students, so that means I have more, but a good guesstimation, I have at least 120. So the lowest I have is 120. Or I have at least 19 students per class. So the way you would read this is x is greater than or equal to 7. Or x is at least 7. Okay. So those are the keywords you're looking for. Alright, so let's read some of these word problems. Okay, so Elizabeth had a maximum of $10 to spend on a movie M, popcorn P, and a drink D. Well, good luck with that, because that's not going to happen. Write an inequality to represent this relationship. Going to the movies is expensive. No? There's no way popcorn. You can buy popcorn, a drink, and the ticket for $10. No, that's not gonna happen.
The ticket by itself is $10. Yeah, the ticket by itself is like 8 something.
Unless, like if you go in the morning, it's like 6, I think. But who goes in the morning?
Popcorn be like expensive.
The popcorn is like $10 by itself. Okay. So maximum of 10. Which symbol would that be? Maximum. Where's that? So the less than or equal to, right? We're looking for this symbol.
So you can scratch out C and D.
So C, this has an equal sign, so that's incorrect. D, incorrect, right?
Yeah.
So this is saying my movie and my popcorn is less than or equal to 10. But she's also buying a drink as well, right? Not just the movie and the popcorn, right? So it would be B, right? Because we're buying the movie, the popcorn, and the drink for $10. Less than or equal to 10. All right. That makes sense? Okay, so let's look at this next one. A rectangular piece of property has a perimeter of at most 50 meters. Given L represents the length of the rectangle and W represents the width, select the inequality which represents the situation. All right. So if you notice,
You can scratch out the B, A, B, and B.
all right. So at most, right? You looked at most. That gave you the clue, and that one is same, right? The less than or equal to. And the good thing is that all of the equations were the same. 2L plus 2W, so you didn't even have to worry about that part. All you're really worrying about is the symbol. And the good thing is, at most gave us which symbol to use. So yes, it would be B. Okay, try number 3. Try number 3 real quick. All right, so let's go. At an electronics store, audio tapes cost $5 per package, and videotapes cost $10 per package. Which linear inequality best describes the number of packages of audio tapes A and the number of packages of videotapes V that can be purchased for $45 or less? Okay, so remember, when you get two options, they're on the same side, right? So we have audio tapes and videotapes, right? And $45 or less, so the 45 is going to be here. Now, how much do the audio tapes cost? Five. Audio tapes cost 5, and videotapes cost 10, right? So that means I can eliminate D and C, right? So the only thing that's left would be A and B. So where's my keyword?
45 or less than.
Okay, 45 or less. Okay, what it's telling you is that it can be $45, right? So you can spend the $45 or less, right? So this is basically saying equal or less than. So they kind of like flipped it backwards. Instead of saying less than or equal to, they said you can buy it for 45 or less, right? So then that would be the less than or equal to. So again, B would be the answer. Okay, this one would say you have to purchase for less than 45, right? Here it would say, and the number of package of videotapes V that can be purchased for less than 45, right? Less than 45 would mean 44, 43, and so forth, right? So 45 can't be included. But here they're saying, yes, you can purchase it for 45 or less. Okay, so it would be B. All right, any questions? Okay, so you're going to work on an assignment in Schoology. It's going to be, hold on, I don't. Okay, so you're going to go to, Worksheets, and you're going to click on the folder that has today's date, the 10/26/18, and you're going to work on this right here, writing linear inequalities, 10/26, and so the questions are there for you. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. There's graphs there, and it has answer choices. It's not a test, it's just an assignment. Okay, it has word problems, and then it has the chart. Be careful with the chart, okay? You're just going to match what goes where, okay? But be careful. It's different than yours, so you have to really pay attention, okay? All right, so go ahead and work on that.